Hi, welcome to the Microeconomics Unit 3 review. In this video, we're going to be covering fixed costs, variable costs, total costs, marginal costs, as well as their average counterparts, and looking at the trends that these curves tend to follow. So let's start off with fixed costs. Fixed costs are costs that don't change as a quantity increases. So if you were to graph it, it'd basically just be a horizontal line because as Q increases, P stays the same. Okay, now on to variable costs. So variable costs are costs that do change as the quantity increases. Now the variable cost curve can vary a little bit based on the situation and the product you have, but for the most part, variable costs tend to follow this shape. Okay, now the total cost is basically just going to be the variable cost plus the fixed cost. And because the fixed cost is, a fixed amount, the total cost tends to look like this. It's going to have the exact same shape as the variable cost curve, but it's going to be basically shifted up by the fixed cost amount. Now, it's important to note where the total cost and total variable cost curves start. Total cost curve will start at the fixed cost because at a quantity of 0, the total cost is only going to be the fixed cost, whereas at a quantity of 0, the total variable cost is going to be nothing. Moving on, let's talk about marginal cost. This is the additional cost of producing one output, so it tends to look like this. But why does the marginal cost curve look like this, you may ask? This is because of the law of diminishing marginal returns, which says as variable resources are added to fixed resources, the additional output will eventually fall. So basically with diminishing marginal returns, what happens is as you add variable resources to fixed resources, initially the price is going to drop because you're adding workers or you're adding the variable resource until it's going to hit a point of maximum efficiency. But then once you go over here, cost will actually increase because the efficiency is decreasing. So you're getting more workers or you're getting more variable resources, but you're not getting the same output out of it because of your limited fixed resources. Okay, so for the average cost, they're basically just going to be whatever cost you have divided by quantity. So average total cost is going to be the total cost divided by the quantity, and same with the variable cost and fixed cost, except you replace total cost with variable or fixed. So the ATC curve tends to look like this parabola-ish curve because it's related to the marginal cost. So when ATC is above the marginal cost, it's going to be decreasing because when the marginal cost is below the average total cost, it's going to pull it down. And then it intersects, its lowest point intersects with the marginal cost curve, which is very important because after that, marginal cost is greater than the average total cost. So the average total cost is going to start increasing. Okay, so now for average variable costs and average fixed costs. I drew them at the same time because I feel like they're connected to each other in helping understand why the average variable cost eventually approaches the average total cost. And that's because basically the difference between the average total cost and the average variable cost is the average fixed cost. And as the quantity increases, the fixed cost is a constant amount, right? So if you divide it by a greater denominator, the quantity, average fixed cost is just going to decrease. So as average fixed cost decreases, the distance between them also decreases, so AVC naturally approaches the ATC curve.